6 a.m. cops at my door again. Linda pointing from her side of the fence, clipboard in hand like she was cracking a cartel case. My offense this time, unapproved pool work on my own property. Officer Reyes looked almost embarrassed reading her complaint. The same pool that had been a mosquito cesspool since Bush was in office. Linda stood there in her tennis outfit playing neighborhood dictator like she had for months. What she didn't realize was that I'd been recording every shady move she made, and my attorney was already armed with proof that would end her HOA rule for good. The pool she kept trying to sabotage. It would soon be the site of a victory party. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? This revenge story is going to blow your mind. Let me rewind and explain how this whole disaster began. My name's Dan Walker. I'm 52 and spent 25 years as an electrician dreaming about owning a house with a pool. Not some flashy mansion, just a decent place where my wife Emma and I could host family cookouts without worrying about the neighbors upstairs stomping around. Emma's a school librarian, solid as they come, and she'd been dropping hints about wanting to host her book club by a pool for nearly 10 years. So when we finally saved enough for our dream place on Maple Street, that pool was the clincher. Sure, it was 30 years old with a cracked liner and a filtration system that sounded like a dying elephant, but it was ours. The stale stench of old pool water hit you from 20 feet away. Think swamp mixed with chemical plant. Algae coated the concrete like a green carpet, and every step around the deck crunched through layers of dead leaves that had been piling up since the Clinton years. Then I got the renovation quote, $40,000, for a pool that was basically a glorified concrete crater. That's when I decided to take the DIY route and handle most of the work myself. I mean, I'd been an electrician for decades. How hard could redoing a pool be? That's when I met Linda Carver. Linda showed up on our second day in the house, heels clicking across my driveway like they could punch through steel. She's 55, perfectly styled blonde hair that defies gravity, and she walked like she owned the entire subdivision, which, as it turned out, she kind of believed she did. Her perfume, this overwhelming vanilla cloud, hung in the air for 5 minutes after she left, like a territorial marker. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she chirped, handing me a thick packet. "I'm Linda, your HOA president. This is your homeowner's manual. All the rules and regulations that keep our community beautiful." I flipped through the packet. Grass height rules, trash can placement requirements, holiday decoration guidelines. Emma rolled her eyes behind Linda's back. "We ditched apartment life for this." "Oh, and if you're planning any outside changes," Linda added with a smile that never reached her eyes, "you'll need architectural approval first. We can't have people just changing things all willy-nilly." I started draining the pool the following week. That's when Linda popped up again, this time with a tape measure and a clipboard. She stood at the fence line, snapping photos like she was documenting a felony scene. "Excuse me," she called out, "but pool renovation requires HOA architectural approval. I don't see any permits posted." I walked over, still gripping the pool skimmer. "It's just restoration, not new construction. Same pool, just fixing what's broken." Her smile tightened. "Any exterior modifications require approval. That's a $500 daily fine until you get the proper permits." "Daily fine?" I glanced at Emma, who was standing in the doorway looking like she wanted to throw something. "The architectural committee will review your plans next month," Linda went on. "I'll email you the application." After she left, I started digging. The HOA architectural committee was exactly 3 people, Linda and 2 of her friends. And here's the twist. I found 3 identical pool makeovers within 4 blocks that had been done in the last 2 years. Guess what? No architectural approval demanded for any of them. Emma found the neighborhood Facebook group that night. Linda had already posted about us. New residents starting unpermitted construction, concerned about property values and community standards. The comments were split. Half the neighbors were on our side. They dealt with Linda's nitpicky behavior for years. The other half were afraid of crossing her. One guy named Tom commented, "Maybe we should let people improve their own property without committee approval for fixing a busted pool." Linda's reply, "Some people don't understand what it takes to maintain a quality neighborhood." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about pool permits or community standards. This was about control, and Linda had just picked a fight with the wrong electrician. Linda wasn't going to let this go. 3 days after our fence line conversation, I got a certified letter from the city building department. Someone had filed a formal complaint claiming I was doing unpermitted construction in violation of city codes. Guess who? The letter ordered me to halt all construction activity immediately and return the property to its original condition. Original condition? You mean the swamp breeding mosquitoes and probably supporting its own ecosystem. But Linda wasn't finished. She posted in the neighborhood Facebook group again. Rogue homeowners destroying community standards with unpermitted construction. Who do we contact when new residents refuse to follow basic rules? The comment section turned into a war zone. Hannah Price wrote, "Maybe mind your own business, Linda." Tom Alvarez added, "I've been here 15 years and never needed permission to fix my own property." Linda's response, she launched a new post with photos of my construction area, basically my pool with some equipment around it, visual proof of ongoing violations. Concerned residents, please share. That's when I decided to fight fire with fire. I spent the weekend studying HOA bylaws, all 47 pages of legal sludge that could knock out an insomniac. But buried in section March 7th, 12, I hit the jackpot. Architectural approval was only required for structural additions that changed the existing footprint of the property. Pool renovation, not an addition. I was restoring existing infrastructure, not altering the footprint. Linda's rules literally didn't apply, but here's where it got really interesting. I filed a public records request for all HOA architectural approvals from the past 5 years. Cost me $12 and a trip to City Hall. But what I uncovered was pure gold. Linda had signed off on identical pool renovations for 3 separate properties. Not just similar, identical. Same contractor, same scope of work, same timeline. The difference, those homeowners were her real estate clients. Even better, I found Linda's business Instagram account. She loves posting before and after shots of her listings, right? Well, there was her own pool renovation from 2019, complete with construction photos, a timeline, and a caption about boosting property value through smart updates. Did she get architectural approval for her own pool? I checked the public records. Nope. I took screenshots of everything. The Facebook posts, the Instagram pictures, the public records proving her selective enforcement. Then I printed it all and organized it in a neat folder labeled evidence. The sound of my pool pump finally running after 20 years of silence was like a symphony. Emma brought me a beer while I stood there watching crystal clear water circulate for the first time since we'd moved in. Linda's been watching from her kitchen window for an hour, Emma laughed. She keeps opening and closing the blinds like some sort of spy movie. That evening, Linda knocked on our door. Not the friendly neighbor routine this time. She was all business, gripping another folder. "Mr. Walker," she said, "the HOA board has reviewed your situation. We're calling an emergency meeting to address your violations." "What violations?" I asked, holding my evidence folder behind my back. "Unpermitted construction, failure to obtain architectural approval," and she paused for dramatic effect, disturbing the peace with excessive construction noise. Excessive noise? I'd been using basic hand tools during normal daytime hours. "The emergency meeting is Thursday at 7 o'clock, she continued. "I suggest you bring a lawyer." After she left, Emma shook her head. "She actually told you to bring a lawyer. Does she realize that makes her sound like the villain?" Here's what I learned about HOA law during my research. Selective enforcement is legally shaky. When an HOA applies rules to some homeowners while ignoring the exact same situations with others, it exposes them to discrimination claims and legal challenges. Takeaway: HOAs cannot enforce rules against certain homeowners while ignoring identical violations by others. I had my defense strategy, but more importantly, I was starting to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just about my pool. Linda had been running the selective enforcement scam for years. The emergency meeting she was planning. It was about to turn into her worst nightmare. Because I wasn't just bringing a lawyer. I was bringing evidence. Linda doubled down hard. By the end of the week, she'd pulled together a concerned neighbors petition to the city council, claiming my pool renovation was causing drainage issues that could affect other properties. Drainage issues. From a pool that hadn't held water properly in 10 years. He hired a private inspector, paid him $300 to dig up code violations. The guy spent 2 hours with a clipboard measuring everything twice. His report? Everything was within code. Linda was not pleased, But this is where Linda really revealed her true nature. She started showing up during construction with her own clipboard, insisting she was measuring noise levels and recording safety violations. Picture this woman in her real estate blazer and heels, standing in my backyard at 7 o'clock in the morning with a decibel meter app on her phone. "That compressor is definitely over the noise ordinance limit," she declared one Tuesday morning. My contractor, Dave, stared at her like she'd sprouted a second head. "Ma'am, it's 8 a.m. on a weekday. We're using standard equipment during legal construction hours." "I'm documenting everything," she shot back, snapping photos of Dave like he was some kind of criminal. And that's when I decided it was time to upgrade my response. I hired an attorney who specializes in HOA disputes. Best $300 I ever dropped on a consultation. Within 1 hour, attorney Jennifer Walsh had uncovered more violations in Linda's HOA management than I'd found in her enforcement patterns. "Your HOA is operating illegally," Jennifer told me, flipping through her notes. "State law requires architectural committees to have at least 5 members. Your HOA has 3. Every decision they've made in the last 2 years is legally questionable." But hold on, it gets better. Jennifer subpoenaed the HOA financial records as part of my defense prep. What she found blew my mind. Linda had been collecting architectural review fees and funneling them into her personal checking account. State law requires all HOA funds to go into an escrow account controlled by the board. Personal use of HOA money is embezzlement under state statute 1844 or 41. "She's been skimming cash for years," Jennifer explained. "We're not just talking about your pool anymore. This is criminal fraud." Word started spreading through the neighborhood about my legal digging. Other neighbors began coming forward with their own Linda horror stories. Hannah Price knocked on my door first. "I wanted to thank you for standing up to her," she said. "She rejected my fence repair request last year, claiming it would hurt neighborhood standards. My fence was literally collapsing." Tom Alvarez came by next. This guy's a Vietnam veteran. Walks with a cane after catching shrapnel in his leg. "Linda tried to block my wheelchair ramp installation. He told me said it was an aesthetic issue that needed special approval. Took me 6 months to get a ramp put in at my own house." The pattern was becoming obvious. Linda wasn't just power hungry. She was targeting specific people, working class families, older residents, anyone who didn't fit her image of the ideal neighborhood. My stress-baking wife, Emma, had been turning out chocolate chip cookies every night, and the entire street smelled like a bakery. Even Linda's constant harassment couldn't overpower the incredible aroma floating from our kitchen windows. "You know what I love?" Emma said, pulling another tray from the oven. "Every time Linda parks outside to spy on us, she has to smell these cookies and know she's not getting any." The sound of neighbors' conversations cutting off whenever Linda showed up became the neighborhood soundtrack. People would be chatting over fences, kids playing in yards, regular suburban life. Then Linda's car would turn the corner and everything went silent. But my favorite part was hearing my pool filter humming calmly in the background while Linda staged her surveillance sessions. For 20 years, that pool sat quiet, and now it was running flawlessly while she slowly lost her mind trying to stop progress. Here's the legal insight I picked up during this stage. Protected class discrimination in housing law. HOA presidents cannot deny improvements based on age, disability status, economic background, or other protected traits. Takeaway: HOA presidents cannot shut down improvements based on ethnic, religious, or disability factors. Linda's emergency HOA meeting was set for the following Thursday. She'd sent formal notices to all residents saying we needed to address ongoing violations threatening community standards. What she didn't realize was that I'd been assembling a case file that would reveal years of illegal HOA management, financial fraud, and discriminatory enforcement. Jennifer had everything organized: criminal referrals, civil complaints, and enough proof to knock Linda off her throne for good. The meeting was going to be interesting. Linda thought she was putting me on trial. She had no idea she was stepping into her own courtroom. Linda went full nuclear the week before the HOA meeting. I mean, full scorched earth, nothing left to lose mode. Monday morning, I woke up to officers at my door again. Linda had called them claiming my contractors were trespassing on HOA common property. The officer looked almost apologetic, having to explain that someone reported men with hard hats as suspicious activity. "Sir, are these your contractors working on your pool?" Officer Reyes asked. Yes, officer, on my private property during legal construction hours. He sighed. Ma'am, he called to Linda, who was hovering by her mailbox. This is private property. These workers are authorized to be here. Tuesday brought a noise complaint. Linda insisted my pool equipment was breaking city noise limits. This time, the officer arrived with an actual decibel meter. My pool filter measured quieter than a dishwasher. Wednesday, she took a new route. She parked her Mercedes directly across my driveway, claiming she was monitoring HOA compliance. When I asked her to move so I could leave for work, she said she had every right to park on a public street. Technically true, practically unhinged. That's when I made the smartest choice yet. I installed security cameras, 4 HD cameras covering every angle of my house, motion-activated cloud storage. Cost me about $800. But within 48 hours, I had video of Linda trying to poison my new pool landscaping with herbicide. 3 a.m. Thursday morning, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. There was Linda dressed in dark clothes like some suburban ninja, pouring weed killer on the plants around my pool deck. The infrared cameras captured every detail in crystal quality. I saved the footage and went back to sleep. Let her finish her sabotage. I had her dead to rights now. But Linda wasn't done unraveling. She filed a formal harassment report against me with the police, claiming I was intimidating her. The responding officer reviewed my security footage and noted that Linda was the one repeatedly coming onto my property without permission. Friday delivered her most ridiculous stunt yet. She attempted to get the city to condemn my pool as a health hazard. Her explanation, the construction phase, could create mosquito breeding conditions that endangered the neighborhood. The city inspector who came out practically laughed. Ma'am, this is the cleanest construction site I've visited this year. The old pool was a bigger health hazard when it was full of stagnant water. While Linda was making herself look increasingly unstable, I was building my alliance. The neighborhood was choosing sides, and most were fed up with Linda's behavior. Tom Alvarez organized an informal neighborhood meeting at the community center. 12 families showed up, everyone with their own Linda story. Hannah Price spoke first. She rejected my garden fence repairs 3 times, saying the wood stain was incompatible with neighborhood aesthetics. It took 6 months to get approval for simple maintenance. Dave Hunter from Elm Street, she tried to fine me for parking my work truck in my driveway, said commercial vehicles are banned. There's nothing in the bylaws about it. Maria Santos, she shut down my daughter's lemonade stand, saying we needed a permit for commercial activity. It was for an animal shelter fundraiser. The pattern was unmistakable. Linda targeted working families, older residents, anyone who didn't fit her ideal neighborhood fantasy while fast-tracking everything for her real estate clients. We decided to attend her so-called emergency HOA meeting as a group, strengthen numbers and witnesses for whatever stunts she planned. Linda's counterattack came Saturday morning. She posted my address on the neighborhood Facebook group asking concerned residents to document any violations they saw. Basically, she was crowdsourcing harassment. The sharp smell of dying plants where Linda had poured herbicide was still hanging around my pool deck. But truthfully, her paranoia was more toxic than any chemical. Sunday night, we heard Linda's garage door slamming every hour. Emma counted 17 times between midnight and dawn. The woman was clearly losing sleep over her inability to stop my pool renovation. Meanwhile, my pool area had become the unofficial neighborhood hangout. Kids asking when they could swim once it was finished. Parents stopping by to check on progress. Everyone noting how much better the entire block looked with a properly maintained pool instead of a swamp. Here's what I learned about HOA lien laws during this chaos. Acceleration clauses let HOAs demand full payment of disputed fees, but they can't actually foreclose without proper legal steps and homeowner due process rights. Takeaway HOAs cannot take homes for disputed fines without full legal proceedings. Thursday's emergency meeting was approaching. Linda had no idea her reign was about to end because I wasn't just bringing my evidence folder anymore. I was bringing the whole neighborhood. The day before Linda's emergency HOA meeting, Jennifer called with information that changed everything. Dan, you should sit down for this, she said. I've been digging deeper into Linda's background for the discrimination case, and I found something that invalidates every action she's taken as HOA president. What do you mean everything? Linda doesn't legally live in your neighborhood. She hasn't for 2 years. My jaw dropped. What? Jennifer explained. Linda's utility bills, voter registration, driver's license, insurance, all list a different address 15 miles away. She's been using her elderly mother's address on Maple Street to maintain HOA voting eligibility, but she actually lives in another county. According to your HOA bylaws, board members must live in the community, Jennifer continued. Linda's been committing mail fraud by using her mother's address for HOA business. I felt the implications hit immediately. Every architectural decision Linda made was void. Every fine she issued was invalid. Every enforcement action was unauthorized. And that wasn't all. Property tax records showed Linda claimed homestead exemption on the other property. She'd filed an insurance claim last year from that address after a car accident. This wasn't just HOA fraud. It was systematic deception across multiple agencies. I needed to know more about her mother. Linda's mom, Evelyn Carver, lived 2 houses down from me. A sweet 78-year-old woman who always waved when I walked by. I'd assumed she was just another neighbor, not Linda's mother. That evening, I visited Evelyn with a plate of Emma's cookies. "Oh, Mr. Walker, thank you." Evelyn smiled, letting me inside. Her living room was filled with family photos, including several of Linda from happier times. "I hope Linda hasn't been too much trouble about your pool," Evelyn said, shaking her head. "She's been so stressed since her divorce." Divorce? 2 years ago, she moved out to that apartment across town, said she needed space to sort things out. Evelyn looked genuinely worried. "She still uses my address for her HOA mail, though. I hope that's not causing problems." Bingo. Evelyn had no idea her daughter was committing fraud using her home address. "Does Linda get a lot of official mail here?" I asked. "Oh yes, HOA letters, voter registration, even real estate license renewals. I just figured it was temporary while she settled." Evelyn told me the whole story. Linda's marriage collapsed when her husband discovered she'd been using HOA funds for personal expenses. He filed for divorce and moved away. Linda couldn't afford the house payments alone, so she moved to a cheaper apartment but kept using Evelyn's address to keep her HOA presidency. "She told me it would be for a few months until she bought another house here," Evelyn explained. "That was 2 years ago. This was the nuclear option. I could expose Linda instantly and destroy her completely. But something stopped me. Maybe it was Evelyn's confused expression, or maybe strategy. But I decided to let Linda trap herself publicly. I thanked her and left to call Jennifer. "We wait until the HOA meeting," I told her. "Let her dig her own grave. Are you sure? We could end this right now. I'm sure. She's terrorized this neighborhood for years. Everyone deserves to see her exposed publicly." Jennifer laughed. "You realize this means every action she's taken as president is void, right? All those approvals for her clients, all the fines, everything." "I know. And tomorrow the whole neighborhood will know too." Linda had no idea her biggest secret was about to blow up in her face. She'd been ruling a neighborhood she didn't even live in, using her elderly mother without her knowledge. The emergency meeting was tomorrow. Linda thought she was putting me on trial. Instead, she was about to answer for fraud, embezzlement, and elder abuse, backed by evidence. The final week leading up to the HOA meeting pushed Linda from unhinged straight into catastrophic meltdown territory. Monday morning, she filed a restraining order request against me, Tom, and Hannah, claiming we were part of an organized harassment campaign intended to terrorize her. The judge reviewed our evidence packet, including high-definition footage of Linda vandalizing my property at 3 a.m., and denied her request in less than an hour. Tuesday, she attempted her boldest power grab yet. She called an emergency HOA meeting, this time with the goal of expelling all disruptive homeowners who threatened lawful community governance. The problem was, she mailed the notice to everyone, including the people she was trying to expel. We all knew exactly what she was plotting. Wednesday, Linda filed a civil lawsuit against me for intentional emotional harm and conspiracy to damage her professional reputation. Her claim was that my pool renovation and harassment campaign had caused her to lose real estate clients and suffer severe psychological distress. Jennifer called me laughing. "Dan, she just sued you for renovating your own pool. And the best part, she filed the lawsuit using her real address again. She had just added more legal proof she didn't live in our neighborhood." By Thursday, the professional consequences were exploding around her. The State Real Estate Commission scheduled an emergency review of her license after receiving multiple complaints, including evidence from our coalition. Her insurance company started questioning discrepancies between her reported residence and her filed claims. Linda's reaction to this pressure? She tried to convince the city, again, to condemn my pool as a public health risk. Her argument was that the construction process was creating mosquito breeding conditions that endangered the community. The city inspector, the same one who'd been out before, shook his head. "Sir, I've never seen someone work this hard to get a clean construction site condemned. This is the tidiest pool renovation in the county." Friday brought the meltdown I still think about. Linda began showing up at local businesses where coalition members worked, demanding they fire anti-community agitators. She cornered Hannah at the library where she volunteered, accusing her of indoctrinating children with anti-authority ideas through story time. The head librarian had to call security to escort Linda out. She confronted Tom at the VFW hall, claiming he was using his military status to recruit conspirators against lawful neighborhood governance. The other veterans laughed her out of the building. She even showed up at Emma's school again, demanding the administration open an investigation into Emma for teaching children to disrespect proper authority. The principal warned her that returning again would result in trespassing charges. Meanwhile, our coalition uncovered Linda's most damaging scheme yet. She had been double charging new residents their HOA dues. New homeowners were told dues were $200 per month, even though the official rate was $50. Linda pocketed the extra $150 each time. "This is systematic fraud," Jennifer explained. "She's been running a con on every new resident. This isn't just embezzlement, it's a planned scheme. We're looking at thousands of dollars stolen." Some families had paid an entire year's inflated dues up front. Linda spent the difference on herself while reporting to the board that new resident collections have been inconsistent. Saturday brought the nuclear button. Linda mailed certified letters to 18 households, the entire coalition, announcing immediate foreclosure proceedings unless each family paid all disputed fines plus emergency assessment fees. These fees totaled thousands of dollars per household. Pay within 72 hours or face foreclosure. But instead of scaring anyone, her actions united the neighborhood. Kids set up a lemonade fundraising stand labeled Neighborhood Defense Fund. Local shops posted signs saying, "Linda Carver not welcome." Screenshots of her unhinged posts were going viral online, sparking national conversations about HOA abuse. By Sunday, Linda had begun appearing at random houses at random times, banging on doors and demanding to speak to the organizers of the insurrection. When no one answered, she'd stand in their driveway shouting about property standards until someone called the police. Every garage door slam, every shout, every meltdown became the neighborhood's warning system. When you heard Linda losing it, you knew to stay inside. Here's what I learned about RICO-style applications during this final escalation. When someone commits repeated acts of fraud against multiple victims using an organizational structure, even an HOA, it can qualify as racketeering under federal law. Take away HOA officers who run systematic fraud schemes across a community can face federal racketeering charges. The emergency meeting was now just 24 hours away. Linda believed she was preparing her final assault on the disruptive homeowners who dared challenge her authority. In reality, she was preparing to walk into her own public downfall, and everyone in the neighborhood was ready to watch it unfold. Monday night, 7 p.m., the community center had never seen anything like it. Normally, HOA meetings pulled maybe 8 people, mostly Linda and her 2 loyal committee friends. But tonight, 67 homeowners filled the room. Chairs lined the walls, people stood shoulder to shoulder, and the air buzzed with the kind of energy you feel right before a storm breaks. Linda sat at the head table looking like she hadn't slept in a week. Her usually polished hair was messy, her makeup uneven, and her hands trembled as she shuffled her papers. She had absolutely no idea what was coming. A local news crew set up quietly in the back. My attorney, Jennifer, took a seat in the front row with several boxes of evidence stacked beside her. Tom, Hannah, and our entire coalition filled the first 3 rows like a jury ready for a verdict. Linda called the meeting to order and began reading her prepared statement with the confidence of someone convinced she still ruled the room. Welcome everyone to this emergency session to address ongoing violations threatening our community standards, she began. This year has been a success thanks to firm leadership and consistent enforcement of rules. She presented falsified financial reports claiming everything was balanced, congratulated herself for maintaining neighborhood excellence, and announced her plan to raise architectural review fees to $500. Some residents have challenged the legitimate HOA authority, she added, glaring right at me. But this board will not be intimidated by troublemakers who refuse to follow basic community rules. That's when Tom stood up. Linda, I have a question about your actual address. Linda's composure cracked. That is not relevant to tonight's agenda. I think it is, Tom replied. Where do you currently live? My personal information has nothing to do with HOA business. Next question. Hannah stood next. I'd like to know why I paid architectural review fees twice, once to the HOA and once directly to you. Linda flushed red. You must be mistaken. You clearly didn't follow the correct procedures. I have receipts, Hannah said calmly, $50 to the HOA and $150 to you. That's absolutely false, Linda sputtered. You're confused. Then Jennifer stood up, and the entire room fell silent. Mrs. Carver, she said, I'm attorney Jennifer Walsh representing multiple homeowners. I would like to present evidence for the board's consideration. Linda's face drained of color. This is not a legal proceeding. You have no authority here. Actually, Jennifer replied, state sunshine laws require HOA meetings to remain open for homeowner input, and fraud overwhelmingly qualifies as official business. She opened the first evidence box and pulled out bank records showing Linda's embezzlement of architectural fees. These documents show systematic theft of HOA funds over the past 3 years. She displayed copies of utility bills proving Linda's actual residence was nowhere near the neighborhood. These records demonstrate Miss Carver has not lived here for 2 years, making every decision she made as HOA president legally invalid. Then she played the security footage of Linda vandalizing my property, dumping trash in my yard at 3 a.m., pouring herbicide over my plants. Gasps echoed across the room. Neighbors whispered angrily. Linda began to hyperventilate. This is a setup, she shouted. You're all conspiring against me because you're jealous of my leadership. That's when I stood up to deliver the final blow. Linda, you want to talk about leadership? Let's talk about the fact that you don't even live here anymore. I walked to the front and faced the room. For 2 years, Linda Carver has been using her elderly mother's address to stay on the HOA board. Every fine, every decision, every threat, completely illegal. The room erupted. People demanded answers. Others shouted for her removal. Someone yelled, "Arrest her!" Linda lost every ounce of composure. You have no right to investigate me. I am the president of this HOA. I decide what's legal. A voice answered from the back. Actually, that's not how the law works. Officer Reyes stepped forward. Linda froze. Miss Carver, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of embezzlement, mail fraud, and filing false police reports. The entire room went silent as Linda's world came apart in front of everyone. This is harassment, she yelled as Reyes approached. They're persecuting me for doing my job. Ma'am, please stand and place your hands behind your back. As she was led out in handcuffs, a representative from the State Real Estate Commission stepped forward. Miss Carver, your real estate license is suspended pending investigation. An IRS agent followed. We will also need to discuss unreported income linked to fraudulent HOA fee collections. As Linda shuffled past me, she hissed, This isn't over. I looked her directly in the eyes. Yes, Linda, it is. The vote to appoint interim leadership was immediate and unanimous. Tom Alvarez was chosen as interim HOA president. His first action was to void every fine Linda had issued and refund all stolen fees. Takeaway: HOA officials who commit fraud lose all protections and face personal liability for everything they've done. The aftermath moved fast. Linda pled guilty to embezzlement, mail fraud, and filing false police reports to avoid a full public trial that would have exposed even more. She got 18 months probation, was ordered to repay $25,000, and had to complete 500 hours of community service. Her real estate license was permanently revoked. Her own house went into foreclosure within 3 months. She moved in with her sister in Arizona, banned from ever serving on an HOA board again. And according to social media, she still blames the entire neighborhood for destroying her life. Meanwhile, our neighborhood transformed. Tom led a full HOA reform overhaul. New bylaws limited board power, mandated transparent financial reporting, and required a true 5-member architectural committee with rotating terms. No more dictatorships disguised as HOAs. My pool became the official gathering spot for monthly community meetings. Instead of Linda's hostile interrogations, we had real conversations about things that actually mattered. Playground repair, street lighting, block parties. Hannah created a community garden that brought families together. Evelyn, Linda's mother, became everyone's adopted grandmother, hosting weekly coffee chats and sharing neighborhood history. Personally, the vindication was incredible. My pool renovation got featured in Better Homes Gardens as an example of DIY transformation and community rebuilding. Emma was nominated for Teacher of the Year once stress lifted. Property values rose by 15% as word spread about how supportive and unified the community had become. I eventually launched a consulting service helping other neighborhoods fight HOA abuse. Turns out Linda-type dictators are everywhere, and homeowners desperately need guidance. I built a website sharing every technique we used, public record templates, legal strategies, step-by-step guides for exposing fraud. Thousands visit it every month. Our coalition even established the Walker Family Trade Scholarship, helping local teens learn skills like plumbing, electrical work, and carpentry, empowering future homeowners to stand up to intimidation tactics. Neighborhood life flourished. The annual Maple Street Festival raised money for the food bank. My pool hosted free swim lessons for kids. Elderly residents received volunteer home repairs from neighbors with trade experience. The local newspaper's series on HOA abuse inspired state-level reforms requiring background checks and financial oversight for HOA boards. I even testified before the state legislature about homeowner protections. Our story went viral nationwide and became a model for community-led resistance. Every summer evening now, you can hear kids splashing in the pool that caused so much chaos, the one that triggered Linda's downfall. Crystal blue water, healthy landscaping, neighbors laughing together. Maple Street finally became what it was always meant to be, a real community. Sometimes I stand beside the pool and think about the lesson this whole ride taught me. When you stand up to a bully, you don't just protect yourself. You free everyone they've been holding down. Exposing one tyrant can change an entire community. So here's my challenge to you. If you've had your own HOA nightmare, drop it in the comments. We're building a database of abusive tactics to help homeowners fight back. Share what happened, how you responded, or how you wish you had. And if this story helped you understand your rights even a little, hit that subscribe button, because next week, I'm telling you about the time my other neighbor tried to steal my driveway and ended up owing me $50,000. Believe me, you do not want to miss that one. Knowledge is power, community is strength, and HOA tyrants, they're temporary.